Hello loves, and welcome to my first art video on this channel. Woo woo! In this video, I'm going to share my process of creating my monthly Patreon reward art. Starting with the initial sketches, I had an idea to piggyback off of last month's design, but to focus on characters with stars like floating around their heads instead of designing them with the stars in their hair like I did last time. And I wanted to just roll with that. So that's what I'm focusing on in the sketch phase. Before we get too far into this month's designs, let's take a quick break and pack up last month's Patreon rewards. I typically mail out everything during the first or second week of the following month, depending on how quickly the physical items arrive from the manufacturers. This is also helpful because I can pack up all Patreon rewards together, including the rewards for anyone who joins on the last day of the month. Now, because I'm planning on keeping my shop open indefinitely, starting today, so more information about that later in the video, but anyway, because of that, I figured I might change when I mail out my patron rewards in the future to have one early shipment for existing patrons during the month, and then a later one for the end of month patrons. Now, that's still all depending on when I actually get the products, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but that's the idea that I have for some of these future months or rewards or things like that. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's take some photos of our sketches, and then I can quickly go over what I usually do for Patreon rewards before we hop on to the iPad and start drawing. Okay, so currently I have 2 physical reward tiers and 1 digital reward tier, and each month I have to come up with some designs that I can use to create something interesting and fulfilling for all of those tiers, while still maintaining a full-time job and trying to navigate art block and what have you. So it can't be too overwhelming. And typically what I try to do is, for the most part, have 2 main designs for the month and then some additional elements here and there to kind of flesh things out or finish things up. So we're going to be focusing on those 2 designs. Okay, so for the first design, I ended up taking the thumbnail that I liked the most, brought it into Procreate, and then adjust the thumbnail so that it was easier for me to sketch over and have the fixes kind of already done with the thumbnail. This one specifically, the head placement was kind of weird, so I just lasso tooled that and moved it, and then on a new layer started doing the line art. Now, for these designs, I'm technically trying something a little bit differently. If you've seen my art in the past, you may have noticed that I tend to focus on line art when it comes to almost all of the things that I create, but I've been kind of in the mood to do a little bit more painting. So I wanted to try out doing a drawing that is just kind of rendered out without the line art being the main focus. So I knew that the sketch itself didn't have to be perfect, so I let that be a little bit on the rough side, and then I did some base coloring underneath it for reference, and then just right on top of that started painting over all of the colors to, you know, try and finish this out and try something a little bit different. I did try and do a little bit of lighting in my coloring, like my base color section, because I thought that that would be helpful when I actually got to the painting part. And then at this point, it's just a very time-consuming back and forth of painting over different areas and trying to clean things up and add in details and take some away so that there's still that nice painterly effect to it, and just kind of finding the balance. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I do enjoy this kind of style and technique, but I don't necessarily love it. So even though I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out in the end, I'm not sure if this is what I'll be doing moving forward. I think for next month, I might try a combination of my usual line work along with a more painterly coloring style. But we'll just have to kind of wait and see how that goes, because I think one of the best things with art is to try and experiment and try different things out. But because these are Patreon rewards, I also want to make sure that they look good in the end. So I definitely don't want to push my experimentation too much when it comes to this kind of stuff. I want to save that for more personal, separate pieces. But I also want to use this as an opportunity to improve my art and try new things and hopefully make for better content for the people who are supporting me on Patreon and here on YouTube and other places that this art might show up. So that's kind of my mindset there. All right, before we jump into design number 2, let's talk shop. So super exciting news for me is that starting today, I have relaunched my shop, but unlike the last couple of times, I'm actually planning on just keeping it open. So if you missed out on the shop launches or the mini pop-up shops that I've done in the past, now's your chance to get your hands on some goodies. I don't know how long this will last. The plan at the moment is to just keep the shop up indefinitely and just close it for short periods of time whenever I need to for a specific reason, but to, for the most part, keep the shop open. I don't imagine there's going to be too much going on with it, so I think it'll be fairly easy, and I kind of want to get into the habit of having 1 or 2 days a week where I basically walk to the post box. So this should be a great chance to do that. Now, I will have shop updates, which you'll see on the channel, but for the most part right now, it's a chance to get some of the older Patreon rewards that you may have missed out on. I don't want to promise anything in regards to Patreon rewards, as I definitely want to make sure that my patrons have a benefit for being patrons. It is definitely more affordable to get it via Patreon because you get that in addition to a bunch of other stuff and then discounts and just all kinds of stuff for being a patron. So I do want to say a big thank you to my patrons, but yeah, the shop is now open, and I will have my Patreon and my shop linked in the description box down below. Now, I guess it's time to get into design number 2. Alright, now for the second design, I did something very similar to the first one, but in this case, I ended up taking advantage of the liquefy tool and using that early on in the process to manipulate and adjust the original sketch and kind of get things in a way that I'm happy with. And I also tried to make sure that I flipped the canvas a little bit as well so that I could modify things, which is something that I'd like to do a little bit more moving forward, kind of before I get into the line art stage, is to really look at the underlying design and play around with it so that at the end of things, I don't, step back away from my drawing and go, oh my goodness, her face is lopsided or something like that, because I've been looking at it at a weird angle and not really giving my mind or my brain the chance to review what I'm doing and make sure that I'm happy with it. And that's something that you're taught in art school, but it's easy to forget or to not really, keep up with it. So aside from that, everything else is pretty much the same. I think there were parts of this that was a little bit easier than the last one, and parts of it that was a little bit more difficult. I felt that doing this version, because I was so happy with how the first one came out, I just wanted this one to kind of work just the same, but I actually ended up struggling a bit with the hair and getting the hair to look the way that I wanted and flow the way that I wanted it to, so I had some back and forth with that, but in the end, I'm actually really happy with how this one turned out. I'm actually happy with both of the designs quite a bit, so I think this experiment was a success. So at this point, we take our finished designs and start making the actual products. In this case, it's the postcard and the bookmark art. It's also around here that I decided I want to use a line art version for the back of the postcards and bookmarks. And since I usually include coloring pages for my digital rewards, which is basically line art, I went ahead and created the line art based off of the finished digital paintings. So it is now time to go over what I completed during this art vlog, studio vlog. I guess this is more of a studio vlog. I don't know, the speed painty studio vlog. So these are the two designs that I ended up completing. I ended up playing around with different styles and just trying a couple of things out. I do like the ideas behind them, but I definitely wouldn't say they're my favorite things that I've ever completed. But overall, I am still pretty happy with them. Based off of these two designs, here are the physical rewards that I ended up creating using those designs. I decided decided to try something a little bit different than what I normally do and see what it would look like having a plain background situation and just creating some of the colored effects for like the phone wallpaper and the desktop wallpaper, because even though I feel like it looks nice for a print or a postcard, it just didn't feel right having a white background for the wallpapers. So I ended up playing around with some different ideas for that, and this is the final product. This is what I came up with. And then for all of the digital goodies, these are what I came up with. And I will say that this month in general, I kind of kept to a more standard generic layout with everything. I haven't really had the time or energy to go outside the box and do anything super crazy. I do extra goodies each month because doing 2 postcards, 2 bookmarks, and 2 stickers is fairly simple with the mindset that I just have to come up with 2 unique designs each month and then kind of build from there. But I did want to play around with different types of products because the only thing I'm really supposed to be doing for these tiers is, you know, like a postcard and stickers, and then everything else is kind of extra. And since I do a lot of reading on this channel, I decided to have bookmarks be a permanent fixture. So now my postcard tier comes with a bookmark, and then my everything tier pretty much comes with a bookmark as well. So that's kind of where the designs ended up. Yeah, I had fun. All right, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. I was trying something a little bit different. I'm hoping to do this every month now moving forward, although in the future there will probably be less information about how this is all set up because I'll just refer people to this video. Otherwise it'll just be speed paints with me talking about the process more. So if you're interested in that, do let me know. If there's anything you wished I had talked about in this video or would like to see in the next video, also let me know so that I can prioritize that for the next time. I am going to try and start next month the May rewards a little bit early this month so that I can be prepared, because I'm going to be doing a bunch of stuff for Mermay next month. So it'll be very busy for me, and I'm trying to get ahead on as much stuff as possible. So if you're interested in this month's theme, definitely sign up for my Patreon before the end of this month to receive what you've seen in this video. And if you're excited about mermaid themed goodies for next month, I hope to have another video about that early next month if all goes well, along with a lot of other goodies. And now I'm just rambling at this point. So I do really hope you enjoyed this art video. I'm hoping to make more art stuff in the future. I'm still not gonna be just an art channel because that's just way too much work. This was a lot of work. I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Until next time, bye!